Have you ever questioned why, despite your most sincere efforts to be a good person, life still feels like a relentless tide, pulling you under with an unseen, cruel current? Could it be that the very map you've been given to navigate this existence, the one filled with well-meaning advice on virtue and kindness, is itself a deception, a beautifully crafted illusion leading you further into a forest of suffering designed to keep you from a truth that has been deliberately obscured? We are taught from our earliest days that to be good is to be rewarded, that altruism is the highest path. Yet, look around. Look within. Does this saccharine promise truly hold, or is it one of the grandest, most painful ironies of the human condition, a comforting fable whispered to mask the raw, unyielding nature of the world's will, ensuring that your very striving for this imposed goodness becomes the instrument of your own quiet torment, a cycle of expectation and inevitable disappointment? There exists a whisper, a forgotten piece of wisdom from a mind that dared to confront the world's unvarnished truth, suggesting that the escape from this pervasive cruelty demands not more of what you've been told, but something far more radical. Imagine a method, a strategy of such profound genius that it involves turning away from these gilded cages of conventional morality, not as an act of malice, but as one of supreme liberation. A hidden key to unlocking a state of being you've been convinced is impossible. The ache you feel, that deep persistent sense that something is fundamentally misaligned between your intentions and your experiences, is not your failing alone. It is the friction of your individual will grinding against a colossal, indifferent will of existence itself, a spectacle of futility, often exacerbated by the very good person advice designed to soothe it. But what if the path to alleviating this suffering lies not in becoming a better actor in this tragic play, but in understanding the rules of its cruel stage, and then, with clear eyes, choosing a different role entirely? The answer, the profound shift you are unknowingly seeking, begins with an audacious act, the deliberate, conscious ignoring of certain advice that has only ever amplified life's inherent harshness. This is not a call to nihilism, but an invitation to a deeper understanding, a genius method to navigate the relentless surge of life's cruelty. Stay and discover how the chains of supposed virtue can be broken, not by becoming bad, but by becoming truly wise to the illusions that have bound you until this very moment. To turn away now is to remain ensnared, to miss the one revelation that could finally quiet the storm within. You feel it, don't you? That persistent, gnawing ache deep within, the one that whispers that all your striving, all your earnest attempts to fit the mold of the good person somehow only carve you hollower. How many times have you extended a hand in earnest only to feel the sharp sting of ingratitude, or worse, to see your efforts twisted into something unrecognizable, leaving you standing alone in the debris of your best intentions? This isn't a fleeting shadow, it's a constant companion for so many, a silent thrum beneath the surface of daily life, this profound and unsettling question: if I am trying so hard to do what is right, why does the world seem to repay me with such relentless, casual cruelty? Consider the weight you carry, the invisible burden of expectations, not just those others place upon you, but the ones you've meticulously constructed for yourself, gleaned from a chorus of voices all assuring you that this is the path to acceptance, to peace, perhaps even to a fragile kind of happiness. Do you remember the pristine image of that path, sold to you as straight and true, and the dawning bitter realization that its stones are loose, its direction treacherous, leading not to an open meadow, but deeper into a tangled, thorny wood where the light seldom breaks through? This dissonance, this ever-widening chasm between the promised reward of virtue and the stark reality of your experience, is the first crack in the facade, the first tremor that signals the grand illusion. This quiet suffering, born from the collision of your gentle hopes with the world's hard indifference, is a wound many try to soothe with more of the same poison. Try harder, the echoes say. Be better, more selfless, more yielding. And so, you might have redoubled your efforts, polished your halo, only to find the circle of your confinement tightening, the air growing thinner. Is this true morality, this pact that demands your diminishment for an ever-receding promise of solace? Or is it a cleverly disguised mechanism, a subtle, pervasive form of control that ensures you remain a predictable cog in a machine that cares little for the individual's soul, only for its endless, blind turning? The truth, a stark and uncomfortable one, begins to stir in these moments of quiet desperation. It suggests that the very script you've been handed, the one dictating how a good person must navigate the currents of life, might be authored by the very forces that perpetuate its cruelty. What if the advice, the universally lauded principles, are not lifeboats but gilded anchors, pulling you down into the depths of a struggle that was never truly yours to win on their terms? This initial terrifying thought, that you've been misguided not by malice, but by a pervasive collective misapprehension, is where our journey truly begins, into the shadowed corners of existence, seeking not a prettier lie, but a more bearable truth. Imagine for a moment that this good person advice, so cherished and defended, is not a shield against life's harshness, but one of its most effective delivery systems. Does a shiver trace your spine at such a thought? It's a deeply unsettling notion, like discovering the medicine you've been faithfully taking is, in fact, the source of your lingering illness. The cruelty you experience, the subtle barbs, the outright betrayals, the gnawing sense of being perpetually shortchanged by life, could these be amplified, even invited, by your very adherence to a code that renders you predictable, vulnerable, and tragically hopeful in a game that doesn't play fair by those gentle rules? The world, in its vast, impersonal dance, operates on a different logic than the storybooks of virtue. It is a relentless current of will, a striving, often blind and indifferent to the delicate moral aspirations of the individual. To navigate this current armed only with the expectation that goodness will be its own reward is to set sail in a paper boat upon a stormy sea, isn't it? The resistance you feel, the exhaustion that settles in your bones, isn't just fatigue. It's the consequence of pushing against an immense, unyielding tide, armed with tools ill-suited for the voyage, a truth that the purveyors of simplistic morality conveniently omit from their comforting narratives. They tell you to turn the other cheek, to absorb the blow, to forgive endlessly, to give without expecting return. And in a perfect world, perhaps that would sculpt a utopia. But look around. Is this the world you inhabit? Or do you find that such noble postures often leave you exposed, an open invitation for further trespasses, a signal to the predatory aspects of human nature, and even to the indifferent machinations of fate, that here is one who will bear any burden, absorb any cost? This isn't to denigrate genuine kindness, but to question the compulsory, unexamined martyrdom often disguised as virtue, a martyrdom that serves the world's ceaseless hunger far more than it serves. Your peace. What if the escape from this cycle of bitter reciprocity lies not in redoubling your efforts to be good by these crippling standards, but in a profound re-evaluation of the standards themselves? What if the game is rigged, and the only way to lessen the cruelty is to first recognize the rules of engagement as they truly are, not as you wish them to be? This recognition is not cynicism. It is the dawn of clarity, the painful yet liberating unmasking of an illusion that has held you captive, convincing you that your suffering was a mark of your failing rather than a testament to your participation in a flawed design. Now, let us speak of a different path, one that doesn't demand you build higher walls of virtue, but rather that you find the hidden gate out of the fortress altogether. This path was illuminated by a mind that refused to avert its gaze from the stark, often brutal canvas of existence. Schopenhauer. He saw the ceaseless, blind striving of the world, this relentless will, and understood the suffering it inevitably births in those who are caught in its churning. His genius was not to offer another set of rules for goodness, but to suggest a radical shift in perception, a way to sidestep the torrent, not by opposing it with fragile ideals, but by understanding its nature and, in a way, refusing to play its most painful games. This genius method we hint at, it is not a complex doctrine reserved for scholars, nor a set of arduous practices. It is something far more intrinsic, yet profoundly overlooked. It begins with the courage to question the very advice that promises you safety and delivers so often only a more refined form of pain. Have you ever felt a quiet rebellion stir within you when told to suppress your own needs for the sake of an abstract, greater good that never seems to materialize, or that benefits others at your irretrievable expense? That stirring, that flicker of dissent, is the echo of a deeper wisdom, a recognition that something is profoundly amiss with the standard narrative. The essence of this approach lies not in becoming bad, as the simplistic duality of the world would have you believe is the only alternative. No, it is about becoming wise. Wise to the subtle cruelties embedded in well-intentioned advice. Wise to the mechanisms that exploit your desire to be good. Wise to the understanding that true peace often comes not from engaging more fiercely, but from a kind of strategic, intelligent withdrawal. It's about learning which battles to fight and which are unwinnable, designed only to drain your spirit. Can you sense the profound relief in that possibility, the shedding of an immense, unnecessary burden? Imagine then that the key to escaping life's cruelty is not to become a saint, absorbing all the world's pain, but to become a discerning soul, one who learns to ignore the siren songs that lure you onto the rocks of perpetual self-sacrifice and disappointment. This ignoring is not born of callousness, but of a profound insight into the nature of suffering and the dynamics of the human world. It is a quiet revolution, an internal declaration of independence from the tyranny of ill-conceived expectations, a first step towards a stillness the good person, chasing external validation, can never truly know. But here, a tension arises within you, doesn't it? The idea of ignoring advice, especially advice lauded as good, feels like a transgression, a step into forbidden territory. We are so deeply conditioned to seek approval, to conform to the collective definition of virtue, that the mere suggestion of stepping away can trigger a primal fear, the fear of judgment, of isolation, of being misunderstood or cast as selfish. This fear is a powerful gatekeeper, the guardian of the old ways, and its voice can be deafening, mingling with the echoes of every lesson ever learned about the importance of being selfless, obliging, and perpetually agreeable. Yet beneath that fear, is there not also a flicker of desire, a yearning for an authentic peace that has eluded you on the conventional path? Consider the sheer exhaustion of constantly managing perceptions, of trying to meet an ever-shifting standard of goodness that seems designed to be perpetually out of reach. Is there a part of you that craves the freedom to simply be, without the incessant need to perform virtue for an often indifferent audience? This interplay of fear and desire, of clinging to the known suffering versus daring to reach for an unknown relief, is the central human drama playing out within you. The strength required here is not the strength of defiance for its own sake, but the quiet, internal fortitude to examine your deepest beliefs, even the ones that feel sacred, and ask, do these truly serve my quest for a life with less suffering, Or do they tether me more tightly to the sources of my pain? The fragility of the ego, so often invested in its image as good, can make this self-inquiry feel like a betrayal of self. But what if the true self, the core of your being, is not this constructed image, but something far more resilient, something that longs for liberation from these self-imposed shackles? This internal battlefield, where the ingrained desire to be good clashes with the dawning realization that this very pursuit might be a source of life's cruelty, is where the most profound transformations begin. It requires you to confront the chaos of your own conditioned responses, to question the control these external edicts have had over your internal state, and to nurture the nascent desire for a different way, even if its contours are not yet clear. The discomfort you feel is not a sign to retreat, but an indication that you are standing on the precipice of a significant and potentially liberating shift in understanding. And so, we stand at a threshold, you and I. The air here is charged with the weight of unspoken truths, with the silent acknowledgement of a long-endured struggle. The path of the good person, as prescribed by the world, has been illuminated not as a haven, but often as a beautifully disguised labyrinth of subtle torments and diminishing returns. The frustration, the weariness, the recurring sting of life's indifference or outright cruelty when you've played by all the right rules. These are not personal failings, but the predictable outcomes of a flawed game. A game you were never meant to win by following its most popular yet deceptive advice. The genius method hinted at, the one inspired by Schopenhauer's unflinching gaze into the heart of existence, is not about acquiring more knowledge in the traditional sense, nor is it about adopting a new set of even more stringent virtues. It is about a stripping away, a courageous letting go. It is the profound realization that true agency, true relief from the relentless pressure of the world's will, comes from a place of deep inner discernment, from understanding what to engage with, and more crucially, what to consciously, strategically ignore. Can you feel the radical simplicity, the almost heretical power in that idea? This ignoring is not the vacant stare of apathy, nor the bitter withdrawal of cynicism. It is an act of supreme intelligence, of profound self-preservation, and ultimately of a deeper, more authentic compassion that begins with oneself. It is the wisdom to recognize the battles that are not yours to fight, the burdens not yours to carry, the expectations that serve only to drain your vital spirit without contributing to genuine well-being, either yours or, paradoxically, the world's. It is about discerning the difference between the genuine call to alleviate suffering and the conditioned response to participate in its perpetuation under the guise of goodness. You are being led not to a complex formula, but to a shift in consciousness, a quiet reorientation of your inner compass away from the clamor of external demands and towards the silent, guiding wisdom within. The revelation that awaits is not a comfortable platitude, but a liberating truth, a truth that once grasped can fundamentally alter your experience of life's inherent cruelties, not by eradicating them, for that is beyond our power, but by transforming your relationship to them. The key to this transformation, the very essence of this protective genius, is now within your reach, demanding only your willingness to see beyond the veil of conventional good person advice. And so the curtain gently falls, not on a final act, but on a quiet clearing glimpse through the dense forest of what you were once told you had to be. The echoes of this journey, this unflinching look into the heart of life's often cruel play, are meant to resonate, to shimmer in the silent spaces of your thoughts, long after the screen fades. Perhaps you now see the well-trodden path of the good person under a different light, not as a condemnation, but as an unveiling, revealing the subtle machinery beneath the stage, and in that seeing, a certain heaviness begins to lift, doesn't it? A new, sober dawn can break even from the deepest understanding of the night. This is not about discarding kindness, but about reclaiming your spirit from the gilded cage of its counterfeit. The questions that once echoed with the clang of confusion may now resonate with a quieter wisdom, a knowing that the truest strength is not in bearing every imposed burden, but in discerning which yokes are truly ours to carry and which are but phantoms of collective illusion. What if the greatest compassion you can offer begins with the refusal to participate in your own unnecessary diminishment, finding a serene power in the still point of your own carefully guarded truth, amidst the world's relentless demands for your unthinking compliance? Know this, and let it settle deep within your being, like a seed taking root in fertile ground. The quietest acts of defiance are often those waged within, against the tyranny of illusions we were taught to cherish as virtue. This is the whisper of liberation, the subtle art of navigating the world's currents, not by fighting every wave, but by understanding the tides, by choosing with profound clarity when to engage and when to let the storm of external expectation pass you by, untouched in your essential core. This inner discernment, this sacred act of ignoring what is not true for you, is your most profound and silent rebellion. This understanding is not a destination, but a doorway. Through it lies a path of continued unfolding, where each conscious choice, each moment of clear seeing, becomes a step towards a more authentic, less embattled existence. The world will continue its clamor, its demands, its ceaseless striving, but you now carry a different map, a compass aligned not to its capricious winds, but to a deeper, more resilient wisdom found within. The journey of escaping life's unnecessary cruelties is walked one discerning step at a time, with eyes open, not to a perfect world, but to a more truthful one. If these reflections have stirred something within you, a recognition, perhaps even a quiet sense of homecoming, then know you are not alone in this seeking. To offer a like is to acknowledge that resonance. To share your thoughts in a comment is to join a dialogue that matters. To pass this along is to extend a hand to others who may also be feeling their way through the shadows. And to subscribe. Consider it not a click, but a conscious choice to continue this exploration together, to build a sanctuary for minds daring to look beyond the given, and to find solace not in easy answers, but in profound, shared understanding.